What is up? Coach Emma here, and welcome back to the Fit Habit Life podcast, where we cut through the noise, talk real health and fitness, sustainable fat loss, and habits that actually work. And today, I will be chatting about the overlap and the differences between health, performance, and aesthetics. And it's really important to understand the difference between these things, because then it gives you a better idea of what is realistic, what you actually do want, and what you'd have to do in order to achieve extremes. And oftentimes it's not really talked about. So it'll make more sense as I dig into the episode, hopefully. Thoughts. Anyway, but before I dig in, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. If any of these episodes have helped you, please rate the show. It helps me get in front of more people. It helps me help more people, and that's the goal of this podcast. If you rate the show, if you share it with friends, family members, and even share it on social media, I'd greatly appreciate it. So anyway, let's dig in. So, I've chased all three. And basically it's kind of, I forgot what it's called, but in one of the courses I went through, one of the certifications I went through, we talked about, it's kind of like a triangle. And on one end is health, one end is aesthetics, and the other end of that triangle, angle, whatever, corner, is performance. And you can have a little bit of all three, but as you delve into extremes, you will compromise some of the other ones. And most people don't realize that. Most people think you can have it all. Most people think you can look like a bodybuilder, have optimal health, hormonal health, gut health, mental health, physiological health, and perform like a top-tier athlete. That is not the case. There are some genetic freaks out there, but for the most part, the more you veer into one of these goals, the more you focus on one of them, you will sacrifice elements of the others. A great example is performance. And I can speak from this personally. As a D1 athlete, I was training 4 hours a day. I'd spend 3 hours in the pool. 3 days a week we'd lift or do conditioning as well for an hour. And I was in college, so I was walking an obscene amount every day. So I was extremely active. I was probably putting down 4,000 or more calories a day of whole foods when I was lean. This was not when I was chunky fat Emma. This was my senior year. And I did not have a menstrual cycle. And as a woman, this might be controversial, but I don't think it is. If you do not have a menstrual cycle, there is something going on physiologically. That is, your body is in a stressed state. And your body is saying, hey, we're not in a place where we can reproduce. I.e., your health is not where it should be. Right? Because the amount of stress in the bucket is so much so that your body is downregulating natural productions of hormones and natural processes in the body to give your body more energy to handle that stress and recover from the athletic pursuits. And it's very common for elite female athletes to not have a menstrual cycle. It's extremely common. And it's not talked about a lot. That is not healthy. Not having a menstrual cycle puts you at a higher risk of developing osteoporosis as you age. We're supposed to be able to have children. It is a blessing. It is a really cool thing. And if your body's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, that's a red flag that there's something off with your health. And you can even look at it from a perspective of look at what athletes are doing. You're performing at an elite level is very taxing on the body. A lot of NFL players in the long term, right? They die really young, in their 50s, from traumatic head injuries, from overuse. They develop chronic injuries from overuse, like baseball players, very common torn rotator cuffs. Swimmers, really common to have torn rotator cuffs. A lot of my teammates were swimming way longer than I was, and they had a tremendous amount of shoulder issues. Their nutrition wasn't very good either, so that plays a role. But if you're looking at performance, elite, top-level performers, they sacrifice parts of their health. I had a teammate who was getting cortisone injections, quite frequently, just to numb the pain that her body was telling her she needed to fix. She had severe hip pain and hip issues, and she just kept getting cortisone injections. I don't know what became of her, but I know long-term she's probably going to have issues walking and being mobile. I was lucky because I never underfueled when I was a D1 athlete. I probably did towards the end, but it wasn't as extreme as a lot of my other teammates. And I wasn't playing... I didn't start as early as a lot of other people. So a lot of people, they start swimming when they're babies, and they do it until college. So it's 20 years of just chronic shoulder overuse. Because swimmers train just as much as water polo players. They do 2-a-days. They'll have morning practice and evening practice. That's a lot on your shoulders. And if you're not fueling your body properly, your body's not recovering properly from those bouts of exercise. So thankfully, I didn't have those. All of my injuries are due from being stupid. So, snowboarding, trying to skateboard as a 6-foot-tall woman, don't recommend. Let those midget kids, they're not midgets, they're just kids. Let those kids out shred you. Don't try to... never again. I like to skateboard, but I will not be doing skate parks. Probably ever again, unless I get really ballsy. But anyway, I dislocated my shoulder doing both of those things. Snowboarding, I was just being dumb. But I did not have any shoulder injuries from water polo. I did have a lot of concussions. I think I've had 5 of them. And so that's another thing, right? If you're looking at the extreme athletes, we put ourselves in positions that we can get injured. From overuse, we're overtraining, we're overstressed, most are under-recovered, most have physiological symptoms like the loss of a menstrual cycle, or chronic injuries. Chronic injuries is a red flag you're underfueling or you're overdoing it. Or underhydrating. So if you look at elite athletes, right, they're not really healthy. They're crazy performers. They're badass, the stuff that they do, but they're not healthy. Same with looking at extremes for bodybuilders and stuff. And back to the aesthetics. There are some people that genetically look really good and can stay lean, but being too low of body fat is not going to be beneficial when you're doing extreme bouts of exercise. So usually, most athletes aren't shredded unless they're underfueling themselves. but that will compromise their performance. So having body fat is really important because you have that extra fuel source to tap into. And so usually athletes don't look as aesthetically pleasing, quote unquote, as like bodybuilders. I mean, I would say bodybuilding is really extreme, but that's the point. I'm showing like the extremes in this triangle. And so with the aesthetics, I mean, bodybuilders take all sorts of drugs and high dosages of anabolic steroids, and that can compromise your health long term and immediately, depending on where you get those. They also focus more on how their body looks versus how they perform. And so a lot of bodybuilders might look like super jacked, but they might not be as strong. Like there are some powerlifters, a great example is that guy who does those funny videos on Instagram who'll like dress up like a janitor and like just like clean with one hand like a gnarly weight that some big bulky guy is trying to lift at the gym, and he'll like school him. So that's a performance guy, right? He is a power lifter. Whereas the other guy is more of a bodybuilder type physique. And so generally speaking, they're more focused on how their body looks than how their body performs. And oftentimes too, they'll compromise their mobility and ability to move in other planes of motion. So by planes of motion, I mean, so there's like most things at the gym are frontal. So forward and backwards planes of motion. There's not a lot of side to side or rotational movement. And most bodybuilders don't do those sort of movements. So if you put them like in a basketball court with somebody, they're probably going to pull a hamstring or injure themselves. So anyway, so that's obviously health, that's an easy one. And the performance, I mean, they're usually not as strong. I mean, some are really strong and their bodies look incredible. They put on insane amounts of muscle mass, but usually the insane amounts of muscle mass compromise their ability to perform too. I mean, they're heavier, they can't run as quickly, they can't swim. If your body fat percentage is really low, you don't float at all, so you sink. When my body fat percentage got fairly low, I had to kick a whole lot more to keep my lower body up in the pool. So anyway, they don't perform as well and they compromise their health. And then if you look at the health extremes, there are people that will do like the ultimate bare minimum of everything, but go like, and biohacking is a good example, right? Where it's like, oh, I only work out 10 minutes once a week and I use this freaky weird stimulating thing. And yeah, sure, it gives you like some muscle protein synthesis, some benefits of strength training, but they don't actually lift heavy because they're scared to injure themselves. They're not trying to perform, they're probably not even lifting weights, they're doing all the other things. I don't know. Oh, well, another thing, like, for example, the ketogenic diet is great for cognitive health. And so a lot of people who are really more focused on health will reduce their carb intake to a very low amount, and that can compromise your performance. You won't be able to lift as much in the gym. Carbs are your body's preferred fuel source for training. And then, I'm trying to think of another example. Well, usually they're not training very hard. They aren't eating, well, and another thing, eating lower calories can actually help with certain processes of the body, reduce inflammation and those sort of things. If you're going to extremes on that end, right, then it's like, okay, you probably aren't going to be able to build a lot of muscle tissue. You're not going to perform very well. I'm trying to think of an example. Because, like, there's a lot of, like, weirdos out there that are, like, health stuff, but then you look at their stuff and it's like they're not really, like, it's just kind of propaganda trying to sell you some crap. So anyway, those are kind of the three ends of the triangle. And what I like to focus on with my clients is being in the middle. And being in the middle is essentially balance. It's like you're not compromising your health to perform. So you're not going to try to lift an insane amount of weight and put your body in a compromising position. You're not going to try to cut down to a body fat percentage so low that it compromises your body's production of hormones and your energy levels and your sleep quality and your overall quality of life, which is, your health. And then health, it's like, I want you to feel good, look good, and be able to perform well in the gym and in your day-to-day life. So for health, we make sure that you're fueling your body adequately, but we're not going to the extremes. We're not saying you can never have a beer, you can never go out with friends and family, you can never eat a bag of chips. It's like, no, we're just prioritizing, optimizing your metabolic health. We're making sure that you're getting enough micronutrients, but we're allowing in some fun foods. Whereas the health extremes, right, they wouldn't allow those things. For performance, we're going to train hard and we're going to get you really strong. But we're not going to compromise your health in order to do that. So we're not going to take androgenous steroids. We're not going to push the calories so much so that you put on an excessive amount of weight to where you're compromising your overall metabolic health, energy levels, and longevity. And with aesthetics, I'm going to help you look and feel awesome, but we're not going to get down to body fat percentage that is compromising your health. We're not going to compromise on your quality of life. We're not going to reduce your quality of life in order for you to look shredded. If you want to be a bodybuilder, find another coach. That is not my thing. I'm not a fan of the sport in general. I think it promotes a really unhealthy relationship with your body, with food, and with exercise. I commend the people that do it because it's really fucking hard. Like, I would never do that. I would do that, which is part of the problem, I guess. I could definitely, but it's so restrictive. So anyway, I'm going to get you looking healthy and happy so that you can better show up for yourself and your life and do the fun things you want to do and be a present parent, father, mother, spouse, friend, employee, business owner, whatever. And yeah, and same with like the performance. It's like, we're going to make sure that you're doing different planes of motion so you don't get injured, so you can live your best life, so you can go play with your kids, you can go play a pickup game of basketball without, pulling your hamstring or injuring or twisting your ankle. And we're going to do it the right amount and the right dosage so that you get all three. No, you won't be the most elite athlete. No, you won't be the weird health guru. And no, you won't look like a bodybuilder. But you're gonna look like and feel like and perform like your best self. So anyway, that's what I do with clients, and that's why it's important to understand those different things, how they can play a role together, but if you go too much into the extremes, you end up not usually getting what you want. Unless what you want is to be an elite athlete, and what you want is to be a keto, low-calorie, fasting guru, or a bodybuilder. But if those are the three things you're looking for, I'm not the right coach for you. If you want balance in your life and you want a little bit of all three and you want to be able to live your best life, I'm the coach for you. But anyway, those are the drawbacks, trade-offs in comparison between the three. And if you're interested in seeing what this looks like, you can book a Discover call. I'll post that link in the show notes. And if you're not interested in coaching, no worries. Hope you learned something. Hope you understood the differences. and how there are drawbacks when going to extremes, and how what most people want is that balance of the three, and how to achieve it. So anyway, thank you for listening to this podcast. If it resonated with you, please rate the show, like, subscribe, and share it. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Share it. And yeah, I will catch you on the next one. Peace.